suffering is categorized into suffering of change, and or pervasive suffering. So when we categorize this way, basically everything that is so-called happiness is also suffering. Everything that we think, basically within this three existence, these three tattus, I think generally when we use the language suffering, it may be partially referring to the suffering of suffering, only partially though. The point here that you need to understand is this: Buddha never said, Buddha never said you should abandon the suffering. Buddha said, meaning you have to know what is suffering. Buddha said, abandon the cause of suffering. This is something to think about. Of course, when Buddha said that you must know suffering, he's not talking about have some kind of intellectually or academically study what is suffering. That may be there too, but it's much more than that. When he said that you must know suffering, it corresponds very well with our mind, the habitual mind, not knowing the suffering. Because we don't know what is suffering, we think it is not suffering, it is happiness. In fact, we misunderstand it. That example is infinite. I don't know whether I should be even going through all of this. Okay, maybe another way to put this clearly is this way. If most of the so-called suffering, most of the so-called happiness that we have is actually a suffering that's not fully blown, or when a suffering is the strength of the suffering has become weakened. Usually, that's what we refer to as happiness. That's one way to understand it. Another way is everything that we experience as a bliss or happiness is not by nature absolutely permanently a happiness or a cause of happiness. For instance, very mundane example, very simple example: ice cream. If you like ice cream, if you like chocolate, eating the chocolate temporarily, it is a bliss, it is a satisfaction, but it is not permanently or truly a cause of happiness, because if you eat so much chocolate, what happens? If you eat so much ice cream, what happens? So everything that we use as a happiness or the cause of happiness has full potential to rise as a pain and a suffering. Everything, possession, position, gain, fame, friends, recognition, promotion, wealth, all of that. As Shantideva said, like a wealth, for instance. When we accumulate wealth, there is a suffering of accumulation, struggling to accumulate the wealth. But you see, the thing is this, because we don't know that it is a suffering. So for instance, in our head, in our mind, the process of accumulating the wealth, time to time checking the balance in your deposit, and as it sort of goes up, it actually, we consider this as a happiness. Meanwhile, you are sweating, bleeding, stressed. You have probably on the way to this balance, you have lost few friends, you have cheated few people, you have stepped on few people's toes. All of that has happened. So there was all that struggle. But the thing is this, for us, it is always this blindness that it's going to work at the end. I used to give an example called 3 strawberry example. It's almost impossible to put 3 strawberries on the top of each other, stacked on the top of each other. But there's an urge to put it on the top of each other, and second one sort of unfortunately sit on the first one. That's so unfortunate because that gives you the illusion that the third one will also work. And also, more unfortunately, sometimes this third strawberry also for a moment stands sort of on the top of the second one. That gives you a big illusion that is definitely going to work. Basically, it's all like that. Everything that we do, we struggle a lot. So the Buddha's statement in the Four Noble Truths, that you must know the suffering, is such an important statement. In fact, this is actually one of the unique, one of the unique statements of the, I think, definitely Buddhism and also Hinduism and Jainism. I think many other religions that comes from the other side of the sea talk more about, abandon the suffering, abandoning the suffering. Buddha never talked about Dunhal Pangwachai. Buddha never said you should abandon the suffering. You know the suffering. That's really important statement here. Okay, then as I was telling you that the big element or the characteristic of the suffering is the time factor. As long as it involves time, it's going to be uncertain. For sure. That's guaranteed. And the uncertainty is a problem because you can never really relax. You can never really believe that it's going to work. Basically, you have to just go through all the guess job. You take the same route from here to Kathmandu that you have been going for the past 20 years, and you just believe that you will reach Kathmandu. But actually, because of the time and because of the other conditions, such as all kinds of other conditions, such as car accidents, we are never sure we will actually reach there. Every day it is uncertain. Broadly, when we talk about the suffering of suffering, we are talking about the suffering of things like hell realm, hungry ghost realm, and animal realm. Now, most of you, especially those who are younger generation, I'm sure, including myself, even though I'm not young, I have problems, to really believe physically existing hell realm. But that's not necessary. Mahayana, especially in the Mahayana teachings, again I quote Shantideva, Motho Didachiri, Disami Bhaktuvesum, where Justice Sajisuji, Motho Didachiri, Disami Bhaktuvesum, Shantideva clearly stated that hell realm is basically not other than your own state of mind. I think, again, the realm is overused word. Because the realm makes you think that there is a physically existing 6 places. We should maybe learn to think in terms of 6 dimensions or 6 phases. You can go through 6 phases or 6 dimensions. It's really a dimension. Right now, this very moment, you and me, we are considered human beings, I hope. We are conditioned. We are brought here with a cause and condition of being human. So therefore, you and I, we have a human dimension. Human dimension. So because we are going through the human dimension or the human phase, when we see those green grass, we don't feel famished. You understand? We don't feel, oh, well, let's go and chew some grass. We don't think that. Or when we encounter a maggot, we don't feel like, oh, wow, yummy. We don't like. Maybe some of you do, actually. You understand? You just, it's really, it's clearly explained. If you want to know about the 6 realms or the 5 realms, you should really read the teachings on the Bhardo or but then maybe we are touching the bit of the Tantrayana or the Vajrayana here. Basically, it is the phase or the dimension you go through, and within the human experience, we go through all kinds of dimensions every day. If you want to speak more human language, it's the mood, you see. This morning you get up and for no reason you are in a bad mood. Everything irritates you, nothing makes sense, breakfast doesn't taste good, you don't even know the taste of the breakfast because you are thinking about something else. You are going through that phase. You are going through that realm or that dimension. But that dimension is not permanent. It's going to change. Slowly, by the afternoon, as the sun comes up, as the humidity is rising, then you become more lethargic, and because of that, your bad mood is also in the lethargic and lazy bad mood. So the lazy bad mood is sort of giving you numbness. So it's kind of like the laziness, that this lethargic has now act as a panadol to kill you at that anxiety and the stress kind of phase. So I think around the lunchtime you'll go through a phase of sleepy, I don't know, all of that. It's a phase, it's a mood, it's some kind of a, what do you call it? So really, the 6 realms is like that. Or 6 realms or 5 realms. I use this example like, okay, you get up in the morning. Alam makes the sound. You really don't want to get out of your bed. You really, but you need to get up. So you get up. And you are so drowsy and you are so, like spaced out. You can actually say, you are going through a bit of an animal phase of the realm. Then you take a shower, shave your, and then splash some shaving, those alcoholic shaving, aftershave lotions, put on your suit, tie, and you check yourself in the mirror, in the elevator door, I don't know how many times, and your vanity has come up. And you think, oh, you do good, you are presentable at least. That mode or that presentable feeling kind of, like confident, you are going through a bit of a God round phase here. And then once you meet your boss, and then you meet your colleague who is doing better than you or something like that, and you are jealous, all of that. Asura round. So on and so forth. You whole day you work, you are stressed, you have been laid off, and then you're really upset, go home, you bang the door, fight with your husband or wife, and hell round, and so on and so forth. So 6 rounds or the 5 rounds should never be really taken as like a theistic approach of that somewhere underneath this earth, if you dig in, then you will find hell. Even though in some sutras seemingly there is this kind of indication, which is to really bring the very illiterate, ordinary beings into the truth. This is called Dhamgan. We call it the teaching that requires explanation. Expedient teachings, there are a lot of that in Buddha Dharma. But really, it is basically a phase or a mode that you are experiencing. Right at while you are sitting here, you can actually experience all of that. Anyway, what you need to know is whatever the phase you go through, whether it's a heavenly phase, human realm, human phase, asura dimension, animal dimension, no matter what you do, what you go through, you are subject to uncertainty. In the Bhagavad teaching it says, it was about Jatupung Tepashin, like a feather in the wind, depending on the karma. Where the karma blows, if a karmic wind blows, you just have to follow, you have no control over it. This is what we were discussing. It's not a predestined, by the way. It's just that you don't have enough opposite karma to counter that. So, whatever the karma comes, you just get pushed and pulled into that situation. And that is totally uncertain. Some of you may have left your job in your country, thinking that you will come to Kathmandu looking for a spiritual path, and finally you might get a time to practice. But we never know. Maybe, while you are circumambulating the stupa, you might meet a beautiful Bolivian girl or a Mexican boy, and you might fall in love, and then all samsara might start. The karmic wind will flow. We don't know. You have escaped all of that in your hometown, and of all the place, in Bhagavad stupid. As you are doing the circumambulating, that's the time you actually get blown away by this situation. These things happen, and these things have happened a lot of times, as you know. Many times it happens in our life. It's going to happen. If we have enough opposite karma to counter that, yes, then you have a control. But if you don't have that, you are like a feather in the wind. This is such a good example. Actually, you are like a feather in the wind. You have no, when I say uncertainty, I'm not only talking about the time, uncertainty of everything, friends. Today's friends are tomorrow's enemies. Today's enemies can be tomorrow's friends. Uncertainty of friend, uncertainty of dwelling place, uncertainty of companion, uncertainty of belief. Never ever kid yourself. Now that you have joined the Buddhist club, now that you have kind of convinced by the Nagarjuna and the Chandrakirti's logic that there is no way that you will ever fall into some kind of a wishy-washy, touchy-feely, what's the word? Woolly-headed, supercilious? Is it supercilious? Supercilious. I don't know. You can. I have actually met people. We can call them gullible, but this gullibility can be within us. As I told you, when the karmic wind blows, if we have no enough strength to fight it, today you are listening to me attentively. A small karmic wind. Tomorrow you might never want to see me in this life. This is true. We can become the worst of the worst enemy. This is very possible. It's completely volatile. The situation is completely volatile. Nothing is uncertain. And that is basically is the suffering of suffering. On top of that, of course, we have our normal, suffering. We have so much suffering. Not getting what we want, end up getting what we don't want. But maybe you might think that there's not so much point of talking about hell realm and hungry ghosts and all of that, but even in human realm, actually, so if we concentrate on the human realm, what do we have? We have so many suffering. One of the biggest suffering that we have is we call delpon. We always think that we don't have enough. It's a poverty mentality. This is one thing we have. Poverty mentality. We don't have enough. Not only money or anything, not only just money, but everything. Friends, we think we don't have enough friends. We haven't visited enough country. I don't know. We haven't smoked enough joint. All kinds of things. We always think that we are behind, lagging behind. We are, step behind. That kind of poverty mentality is a very big problem. This poverty mentality is what creates competitive mind. So this is one of the main suffering of the human realm. The other is because of that we are always so busy. Busyness. This, always really occupied. Maybe busyness is not the right word because we do need to be busy, isn't it, in this earth? But occupied. We are never free. We are always occupied. We are always engaged. Even when you have no job, you are not free. Even though you have been fired or laid off, or even when because of the economic situation, you have nothing to do. We are still busy. We are still occupied. We are still not free. Because there's always an agenda. So this is the suffering of suffering. Especially, as Jidamit Thakur said, the suffering of suffering that involves hell realm, hungry ghost realm, and animal realm. If it happens to you in the big scale, completely, total, sentiment, we cannot bear it. We cannot bear it at all. so much suffering, but that's okay. But what is really not okay is we continually accumulate cause of the suffering. Now that is really ridiculous.